Here I am at the bottom of the garden, and I thought I'd just do a quick video to showcase some of the kind of fruit plants and trees that are blooming this June. Of course, the neighbours have decided to do some drilling or something in a nearby garden. Isn't that always the way? Anyway, what I thought I'd do is just show you a few of some of the best things that we've got going on here. It's a great house here because the garden's massive. It's given us an opportunity to not only have chickens but have sort of an orchard, I suppose, and lots of other plants as well. So let me give you a quick tour of what's going on, some of my favourites in here.
Okay, let's start here then with the grapevines I've got planted. There's a mixture here of this is a white one, Blanc. I'm not a grapevine expert, by the way, but I planted them down here, slightly north facing against this fence. There's another one here. This is another white grapevine, I believe. But they're doing pretty well, growing up. Leaves are coming. This one's pretty tall. This is, I think, one of the Muscat Bleu variety. Yep, so that's sort of, I suppose, a red or a blue, black grape. Here's a little one. I'm not sure what this is. Rescued that from a garden centre. That one is, oh, hello, willow. Chickens love it down here. I have to keep an eye on them, though, because there's also currants and raspberries, and they tend to like eating the leaves off those. Oh yeah, so here's another Muscat Bleu, and that one again is, yeah, it's climbing up pretty well so far. Hopefully we'll get some grapes off these babies this year. Next, that is this rhubarb. Here's a massive sprouting crown, or is that more than one crown? I can't tell. Anyways, lots of stems and huge leaves. It's pretty happy down this bit of the garden. It's quite moist and shaded. There's another crown going there, and that's underneath a large apple tree. It sort of likes the shade, I think. There's another crown. Used to be all in one place, but I've spread them out a little bit to allow them to grow. And yeah, they're happy down here, it seems. Need to get to harvesting some of these actually and make a crumble. Right, this is a massive apple tree that was in the garden when I moved in, and it has a huge crop, a very heavy crop. I don't know what the variety is, sadly, and I don't even know if it's a cooker or an eater. I've tried eating it, it's okay, and I've tried cooking and it's kind of okay too, so I'm still none the wiser. I've consulted some other people who know more than me about apples, and they're not sure either. They get massive, these apples, as well, and as you can see, there's just loads. I mean, there's literally hundreds of apples coming on this tree. I'm going to be inundated soon, towards the end of the summer, with apples again on this tree. It's amazing, amazing. So there we go, look, you can see. This is the next one. This is my actual favourite Egremont russet tree on an M26 rootstock. This one's doing better every year. Had this about 3 or 4 years now. Every year tends to, there's a bit of a disease going on some of those leaves, look. But every year it seems to make, hello ladybird, more apples. So gradually getting more and more each year. It's able to sustain more fruit. So I'm looking forward to these ripening up and being edible again later this summer. So that's probably my favourite, just like the variety. Here is I call it a justaberry plant, and it's grown really large, but I think you pronounce it justaberry, and it's like a cross between a black currant and a gooseberry, and it makes large. They're actually sort of almost black when they're ripe, but they're green at the moment. As you can see, there's quite a heavy crop coming on here too. It starts to intertwine a little bit with my raspberry canes, so maybe need to, I think I'll just leave it actually. But yes, really like that, and you can make crumbles with those justaberries as well. So here are all of the raspberry canes that I've got planted in this north, actually it's a south-facing shallow border against a stone wall, and these raspberry canes love it here. A couple of years in a row now I've had a really good crop off these. You can see there's loads. They're planted in a sort of, yeah, like I say, shallow border with the gravel topping to try and prevent any weeds from growing and competing for nutrients. But these are really healthy, as you can see, green leaves, and it's not going to be long before I can start harvesting some of these raspberries. And once they start coming, you pick them and they grow more. I'm almost drowning in raspberries. Unfortunately, the chickens don't like raspberries. This is a good tree. This is a Braeburn variety. I actually got this very cheaply from Amazon, would you believe? And it's happy here at the top of this slope. As you can see, it probably needs a bit of a prune this winter. It's getting a bit gangly, but it's making apples, and it's generally doing really well. I'm happy with that. I didn't have high hopes for it, to be honest. That was a cheap tree. This is another really good one. This came from, not from Amazon, this came from an actual tree supplier, and it is a Royal Gala. It was 2 years old when I got it on an M26 rootstock. This makes a lot of apples. As you can see, there's a lot of little ones growing already on here. And it's actually on, I planted it on a bit of a slope accidentally, and it seems to be leaning over to the slope as well. It's sort of leaning over towards the sun, the south-facing bit of the garden. And I've put a couple of posts in there and tried to sort of stop it from leaning any further. But I probably should have thought a bit better when I was planting it. And I've tried to crop some of the branches off in the dormant season to stop it leaning too far. Of course, it's okay in the dormant season, but once it's laden with all this big fruit, with a lot of fruit on it, it tends to lean even further, you know. So I love this tree, but I wish it would grow more on the other side. Here's the chickens. Hello, chickens. They love the garden. You need to keep an eye on them, like I say, because they do have a habit of digging stuff up and eating the leaves off some of these fruit bushes. I don't want them to do too much of that or dig up the roots like Willow's doing here. Stop it. Naughty. Can't stay mad at them for long. Here is a gooseberry which I bought in a garden centre. I really want to grow gooseberries, and you can see a few fruit on this small plant, but I just don't like the spikes. You can see them there. That's off. It's always put me off. I like gooseberry crumble. Adding gooseberry to sort of yogurt and stuff, it's really good. But yeah, it's the first one I've tried. This is interesting. It's a honeyberry, a Morena variety, and I got this in a garden centre as well. It was looking a bit worse for wear. I'm going to see what I can do with this. It's not making any fruit this year. Over here we have a Rhode Williams pear tree, and this is doing well too. This is a few years old now. It's got some really nice sort of deep, almost deep purple sort of pears growing on it. Looking forward to seeing, again, every year we're getting more on this one too. And it seems happy here as well, even though it's surrounded by a lot of vegetation. Here is about the only plum in the garden that's actually making plums. I seem to be suffering with plum trees. I don't know what it is. But this one, as you can see, it's a Victoria plum. I think this came from Amazon too. And it's doing really well. It's just happy. I don't know whether I'm going to get all of these harvested, whether the birds will get to them or whether they'll just sort of fall off. But there's a load of plums on there. Looking forward to seeing what these are like. Should have a good harvest off this one. Here is a little fig tree which I bought. It was on its last legs in the cheap section, you know, and I nursed it back. It's tiny, but I thought it had died. It's not. It's still alive. It's got some leaves. I've also, not fruit here, but I've put against this stone wall at the bottom of the garden for extra shielding and a bit of green throughout the year. I've put these laurels, and they've taken a while to get the roots down, I think, but as you can see, this row of laurels is now starting to go for it. There's lots of new growth. It's looking very green and shiny, and I'm hoping that will go higher than the wall eventually. I've got a pond. Obviously you need to attract the pollinators into the garden to help with the fruit. So here's a pond. It's got loads of, well, some big frogs and some little tadpoles, stroke frogs that are still developing in here from this year. There's a couple just in there, look, bottom of there. So yeah, this is good to have. The weeds taken over a bit, and I worry that there's no oxygen or light getting down underneath to the things that live in there, but they seem to be doing okay, so I won't worry too much. Good to have a bit of water in the garden. The cat likes to drink out of here too. Here is a strange tree. It's a Malus Mix. I picked this up in it was in the sale section. I felt a bit sorry for it, so I just had to get it. I think they're crab apples. I'm not sure. This is the first year I've had it, so we will see what these apples turn out to be. Yeah, Malus Mix, it says. It's like a cordon, so it's just one long kind of trunk with fruit growing straight off it. This is one of my favourite things. This is a kiwi plant. I can't remember the proper name for it. Look how big that leaf is. It's almost as big as my hand. And I really do like those leaf shapes. You can see it's planted this year. Actually got it from a garden centre in Stamford of all places. Look, there was the name. We'll see. I think I might have to thin that out a bit. But yeah, thanks for watching. That's the state of the highlights of the garden this June.